Hello and welcome to this overview of Coiffure. If you know me, you might already know my previous tool, which was Couture, sorry, and which was released like a year ago. And this tool has one purpose: to ease the workflow of retopology. So I did this tool, and now I have a new tool, which has also a French name, which is Coiffure, and which means like hairstyling. And this new tool has exactly the same purpose. It's like ease the workflow of creating hair for real-time characters or fur for animals. And the idea is there is a common workflow around which use Xgen to create hair texture. And if you already try it, you might have discovered that there were some point in this workflow that was sometimes a bit annoying. Sometimes because of the way Xgen works, because it's not a tool which has been created for real time on first objective, and also because like creating 3D air cards is a complicated task, and so voila, I just wanted to create something to ease all those process, and let's discover what it means to use Coiffure. So I will try to give you a good overview of this tool in around 30 minutes, if I can try. I will do more in-depth video for each part of the tool, and the link will be in the description. But there is a lot to cover, so fasten your seatbelt, and I will start. Je vais mettre le chronomètre. So I will do some in-depth video for each part of the tool, and the link will be in the description and in the ArtStation page, etc. But since there is a lot to cover, fasten your seatbelt and let's go. Okay, so once you get Coiffure, you will get a folder with a script. There is a documentation on how to install it, but basically you have to copy everything inside your Maya folder path, a script path, sorry. And once you're in it, you will have a shelf that you can import and just change the path. I will do a video on precisely how to import, to load the tool, and set everything correctly. But for now, once you click on this, you will have this launcher UI, which will give you the access to the licensing part of the tool. So basically you have to choose between perpetual and your subscription license. So depending on what you've bought, you will have a key for it. So just select the right product. Then you put your Gumroad email, and Gumroad should have sent you a key, a serial key. So you have to put this key inside the licensing text field. And once you're done, you will have to create a path to the Coiffure source folder that I gave you with the tool. So if you're familiar with Xgen, it's better to use Xgen inside a Maya set project environment. And so I created my own folder for you guys, which also has some custom folder for Xgen only, and also for Coiffure. So you can put this folder wherever you want. So for example, on my computer, it's on a second hard drive W here, so you could put this one on any folder, really, on any path, any hard drive, and even you can share it. If you have a hard drive which is on a network, you can share this folder with your friend or colleague, etc, etc. So let's launch it. So Coiffure will open, and you will see like two parts, one I call projects and one I call utilities. So we will start with the utilities, and just briefly to get you an overview, Coiffure works with a strand library. So I will give you some of my own strand, and this library from myself will grow, and I think I will share most of them in the future, but the idea is really you will create your own library of hair that you've created for a specific sorry for that, for a specific character, and you will be able to share those hair strands for multiple ones. And that's the idea, the main idea for the Xgen part, which is nothing like crazy, but in the practice I think it could help to, you know, save some time and not reinvent the wheel, because most of the time when we are creating a new strand, you will see that you're doing the same thing all over again. So that's the idea. And to do so, we will create a first strand just to show you how it's working. So you go into create strand. So Coiffure will open Xgen, so you need Xgen to be installed on your computer to work. That's legit. So let's start by giving a name. So first thing, we have a category. So I created some category about the length of the hair and about the type of hair, and by doing so it will be easier for you to find hair strand later on. So let's see, we will take a long hair for this one, long strand, and for the name I will call this one straight one branch. Okay. There is some suggestion here about how to name your strand in the documentation, and there is a documentation on almost every tool inside Coiffure, so if you're lost you can click on this question marks, or you can go on my blog, you will have the complete documentation. Then we will create a scalp, and here are you have some basic parameter for the scalp, like the rotation and the size, but let's start with those default parameters. So let's create this one here. Okay, so Maya is opening the hypershade because I need some stuff around, like creating some shader, some default shader, so you just have to minimize it after it's loaded. I would not recommend to delete, to close the hypershade, because sometimes, you know, it can be not good for the tool, because sometimes I had to script stuff that happened inside the hypershade, so if you close it before my script is working on, you will have some error. So here we have a grid which represent the size of the texture that you will create later on. At this point it's nothing but just some measuring tool and some reference of scale, so you can basically ignore it unless you want to have something that fits the library. And here we have what I call a UV box. We'll talk about it later, so let's just hide this one for now. First thing first, about the UI, we have here a bunch of buttons that will allow you to show and hide part of the UI, but we also have a marking menu. If you click on Ctrl Alt middle mouse button, you will open this UI, and basically it's doing most of what you could expect from this part here, but inside the viewport, so you don't have to move back and forth every time you need to do something. So let's create a description for this one. Let's call it this one base, and we will set a type of groom, which is spline, and we'll add this one. So normally, if you're familiar with Xgen, you should have clicked on a couple of buttons before creating this description, and here it's just one button, so I simplified the principle for us. And right now we'll create some guides here, so just create something quickly, and let's create a first strand. So as I said, I will make more in-depth videos, so for this one it will be pretty basic and I won't explain much, but basically here, as you can see in the tool on the marking menu, I can create I can rebuild the curve like that, and I will just set some size here. Let's create one here. Okay, so just reduce the size. Also, Coiffure will create some random color for your guides, but I have to admit this one is not like a great one, so I will just pick another color, whatever, like this. Okay. So I can refresh the description or hide it with this button, so let's do this. Okay, and let's try to groom the curve and the guide, sorry. So I will do something like simple here, like that. Okay. So other artists already created some in-depth tutorial on how to create those type of strand, and basically it's exactly the same workflow. I just speed it up a bit, but for now, if you are already familiar with this way of working, it won't be anything new for you. I plan to release my own tutorial on how to create hair when my tool will be released, so in a couple of weeks I will sell it on Gumroad and other platforms, so you will also have my own, personal tricks about it, but that's for now. You can find other people who already talk about it if you're new to this way of working. So now I will create some density here. Here I have some presets of size that I will apply. I will tweak this a bit because these are just generic value. I just don't like the basic values that you can have with Xgen by default, which is too big for default scale here. So let's go with this, and let's create some modifier quickly. So let's create some clamp right here. I will use the guides. Okay, I will put this one to like 75, like that. Okay, and then I will create a new one here. Let's add some noise just quickly here, like this. Okay, and let's say we are happy with this for now. It's just a demo. So now we will create some basic shader here. You don't need to do it at this point, but it's, I think, better to have something already set up. And you have some option here like assigning the shader to a selection or editing the shader. It's up to you. You can tweak what you want later on here, and I will just add a bit of density. Okay, and then when I'm finished, I can now take a picture here and save the strand. I will just remove the guides from a picture like this, and I will save this strand. So I could have done many more things like painting mask, region. It's up to you how complex you want a strand to be. But now the idea is like we have it. Then you have the Strand Editor, which means that you can reload any strand created and everything will be reopened. You will be able to modify anything and reload it as you wish. So let's just open one previous strand I already created. So let's minimize this, and you can see here we have exactly the same UI. Everything is reloaded for this, and we could have modified this one if we wanted to. Okay, so now it's time to create a texture. So let's create a test texture one. Okay, like that. Okay, so now we have an empty space here. We still have our 3D box, and the idea is like now we can import strand that we have created earlier, and they will be created as a new copy of it. So it means that you can modify it inside the scene and it won't affect the library. So you could do like many changes you want inside this. Some change cannot be done, like adding guides. I noticed that it was like not working quite correctly. I will try to find a way to make it work, but it's hard because I'm also constrained on how Xgen is working, and I already, done so much to make it like splittable and iteratable. But yeah, like I can't promise that I will succeed to do everything with Xgen. But for example, if you want to change the way the guide are groomed, or if you want to change the parameter in your Xgen description, it's totally possible. So let's find an example here. So as you can see here, I have an outliner, which display all the strand that I've imported. And as you can see, I moved the scalp using this outliner because it's actually selecting the scalp and the guides, because I thought it was a better way to move things. You can do it by just selecting the description, but it's not the best way to do it. And also the outliner, there is a triangle that you can expand and you will access to the description that you have, so it's basically the same menu that you had before, and still you have some couple of update button here. So nothing is on the screen because it's Xgen, so you have to reload Xgen to update the description every time you make a change. So here we have our guides, and let's just do a quick change at some of it. Like for example this one, I will take my sculpt brush and I will move this around here, do something crazy, and if I update everything, you see everything, it's updating this one here. And as I said, it's a copy, so one benefit on working on a copy is like I can destroy this one and reload it. So it could be in two situations, like you're working with someone else and someone else did an update, so you think the update is better, so you will just re-import this model and bring this new update. Or if you're not happy with what you've done, like this, I don't like this one, so I will just click here on reload. Oh sorry, I picked the wrong one. In fact, I reload this one here, so let's just wait that this one is reloaded. Okay, and I think this one, no, it's not this one, it's no oh sorry, it's this one because I moved them in the wrong order. And so let's just just re-import everything here and see what we've got. And voila, it just reappears with the basic shape it has. And let's do something more interesting, like you don't like this one, for example, so this one is, yeah, this one here, and I don't like this one, I think it's too small, so let's bring something better for this one. So this one is the strand number 4. So if you use your right click on this picture here, you will be able to bring this new strand, and it will swap with your previously existing strand. So as you can see, it imported it with the previous scales. So let's just update it, and voila, because we imported it with the previously with the previous size of the previous scalp, so now it's better if we scale this one larger. And so the idea is like you will pick some of them and put them wherever you want, it's up to you, to create your textures. And so you can modify the shader as well. But let's talk about how to bake the texture, sorry. So here we have a normal manager widget where you can add every type of texture that my tool can bake for you. So if you look in the description here, you can see that there is like all those maps here: alpha, normal map, height map, flow map, etc, etc. And let's bake some of them. So let's just do the first one and just create them with a low resolution because I want this to be fast here. So bake the selection, and let's wait. In fact, you have here a little progressing bar, but I have something on top of it right now, so you won't see much, but basically it's on all working, and so we just have to wait him to work. So let's wait for it, and now we should have the results. So we could just find the result here by clicking on this green button, or we can even open the folder where we will have all the maps here, so you can check what you want, and obviously in one click you can rebake everything as you wish. Here we have the possibility to convert this groom into polygon meshes. If you don't like to work with Arnold, you can still convert this to meshes and bake everything in, for let's say X normal, for example. But I think Arnold do a great job, so I will stay with Arnold for my part. And then we have what I call a UV tool. So the great thing about this workflow will be to create a UV once. When you created your texture, you will create the UVs as well. It might be very fast, as you can see. As you will see, sorry. So I will bring this window here, not here, but here, and basically it's like a UV window. So we will create a UV shell for each strand. So like that, for example, I don't know, a random name here with a random color here, and I will be able to put this shell onto a strand. And using Ctrl T, like in Photoshop, you will be able to scale it. Once you are happy, you can re-click on Ctrl T, and you can adjust the parameter later on if you want, or move things, move the color, move the name, etc, etc. So you could do this by hand, and that's also because you can do this by hand, and you can also grab this tool from the very first menu in Coiffure, sorry, and that means that you can create your texture in any software, in Photoshop, in other plugins or whatever, and still use this template editor to generate a template out of it, and use this inside the next tool, which will be the groom tool. So you could do everything by hand, but I have something to show you. Basically the idea is like we had a box earlier like that, and the idea is like when I will press on this update with UV box, you will see that everything got created instantly, and in my case some of them are wrong, so I will just fix some of the box in 3D space here. So let's just, it will be as simple as this, like I will move this upwards, this one down, this one up, like that. And the idea is like you should normally do this in the Strand Editor. So once you will import a strand, it will be imported with correct UVs. And now when you click it on update again, it was saved. It was imported correctly. So now we can save it. Normally you should use this save button, but since we are working inside of the pipe, we can just click on autosave and everything will be saved at the proper position. So now it's time to take a little souvenir picture, as we did earlier for the previous part. So we have this one here, and we'll say this one is done. So you could have some progression update. So if you're working on team, it could be a nice way to see what is done and what you have to review and stuff like that. So we will save this result, and we still have like something about 10 minutes to show you the next tool. So let's go fast. So the next tool, I will create a head, like demo head. Okay, and I will create this one. So a new empty window appears with lots of new tools. So let's talk about this. Here you can import or load from the scene different type of mesh, like head meshes, just for reference, haircuts if you've created some haircuts from another software or from a previous character or whatsoever, and curves if you want to create ribbon. So that's my case. So I will just start with finding head, and I will import some curves. So don't worry, they are in the scene, they are here. Okay, so this is a demo head from a guy called Baoview, who released this character a few months ago, or 4 years ago I think. So you will have the link also in the description if you want to get this mesh. So here I will open the ribbon tool from Coiffure, and basically Coiffure have a ribbon tool which work like the same you have here in the bonus tool from Maya, but it has also some more advanced parameter for some of the issue that you can face with this bonus tool. So I will set a scalp geometry I will set my head to template so I can, you know, select the curve easily, and I will convert everything into ribbon. So it might take a while, so it's just because I have like 1,000 of them in the scene, so it's not, you know, that usual to have 1,000 of haircuts, at least for the beginning, but you know, it's not that long considering the fact that I have 1,000 of them. So let's just wait a bit. And as I say, there will be some more in-depth video, because as I'm recording the video I know that I'm skipping like at least the third or half of the tool options, or you know, little fact, and so it might be a bit confused to see the tool right now, but at least in 30 minutes you can have a good idea of what it means to work with Coiffure. So now I have my results, and one thing that you can notice is like not everything is aligned properly, but at least most of the ribbon are aligned. They face the character orientation, and in fact except those parts here, which in fact are not misaligned, but you know, alignment when we talk about haircuts, it's also a bit about a bit of a taste issue. And you know, sometimes, for example, those one, they are facing the same way that those one are facing, but since we are looking at them from the bottom, it feels like it's not the right angle. So it was hard for me to design an algorithm that could work 100% of the case, but at least for most of them it's working. And then when it's not working, you just have simply to select the curve, or you could work on both on the curve and the geometry, and you can just, you know, change the orientation like this and change to fit what you want. So there was many parameters that you can adjust, like the width, the curvature, the tape, the twist, etc, etc. And there is also a parameter which is the length subdivision, so you can increase more or less subdivision. And also there is something about the UVs that my tool can solve, because basically when you're subdividing your meshes in the normal Maya one, sometimes the UVs can explode, and my tool can correct it. So it could correct it. It could correct the UVs directly when you move the length subdivision, but this can be very, very long if you have like so many ribbons selected. So you can also you can also set this option to you can turn it off, and you can fix them manually like that. So you click on this button and you can fix them. Once you're happy with all your ribbon, there is also two other tools here. Like we could like create a ribbon profile here, and basically we have a bunch of different profile curve, and we can create ribbon out of them. So it could be a nice idea to start a groom if you don't have some curve. And also one thing that you can do here is like you can select let me just try to do it properly. You can select the control of the curve, and you can, you know, reshape it as you like, you know. So that's an option here. And also one thing that you can do is like you can select an existing curve or ribbon, and you can use this tool as well to create new ones on the scalp here. So also if I click and hold, I can change the rotation on various angle. And since we are working in Coiffure, sorry, sometimes I mismatch the two of them. When I duplicate a strand, either it's a copy or I use the ribbon copy. You can see I can duplicate them. Both of them will be still interactive. Like we can change the width again, the curvature, taper, subdivision. And it's not the case normally if you use Maya. It would normally bake everything and basically just give you some polygonal meshes. But with my tool, you have the flexibility to change this later on. So that's all for the 3D part, let's say. And let's go back to the UV issue. So I will create what I call a scalp here, so it's basically just a name, but you could have, oh sorry, I wanted to create head, but misspell it. But it could be also, you could have a beard, for example, here. And the idea is here we will going to add the template that we did before. And now if I select, let's say this one here, and I click on the plus here, you'll see it's turning yellow, so it means that this air card was added to this strand group. And if I click here on the display, I can, you know, see the UVs applied on this ribbon. So if I look here in the UVs, you will see that if I select this, the UV will change each time I change the group, like that. So you can see here I can change them accordingly. And then I can also set the textures on and even set the normal for the lighting, and we can tweak the blend parameter, because basically it's just a blend shader. And I'm already at 30 minutes, so I will just keep it short. But other thing that we can do is, like, if you're lazy as I am, you can pick a couple of them and, you know, just shuffle, assign them to a group like this one. And each of them will have a different group, like as you can see here. And I did nothing, you know, except selecting them. So I don't know if it's clear enough, but you can do this on my own coiffure ribbons, but you could also do this on any type of geometry that you've imported. So if, like, say we create a plane like that, I will pick this mesh, so it will be known as a mesh that can be used by the coiffure here. And then I select this one and add it to the group, so basically it should have like UVs from the group, like that. So that was just a little demonstration. Okay. Okay, so now that you are happy with that, you can, you know, simply add them one by one, or by shuffle, or by group, or any type of selection that you want, and add them to each group. But one thing which is also important is, like, you can tweak things on the fly. Like, you can reload and reiterate on different part of every part, in fact on every part of the tool. So let's say we had this one inside this yellow object, and we bring back the UV template editor. So if we are clicking here, we can, you know, shrink this one here, and we will save this modification. And if we update it, you will see that now the UVs are cropped like that. So I could make any modification, and in one button I can change the result that I have here. So let's, you know, save it again, reload, and we have the result back on track. But the beauty of it is, like, you can also try other templates. So let's select another template. I have a new template here, you will see it, like, more dense here, and now it's looking like totally different because I changed everything. And you see it was just one click. So in one click you will update everything which is in the scene will be transferred, the UV will be transferred, the group will be reassigned, so you can, you know, work, iterate, and change things as fast as possible. And that was something that was not the case before, because if you were working traditionally, you would have to modify each UV one by one, and it's time consuming and, to be honest, pain frustrating. It's like a pain in the ass to do it, so it was the change, I guess. Or for my part, it was the change. So now we can change. We can go to the last step, which is about changing the normal, how the normal are facing the model. So one thing that I will do is, like, I will just first, let's clean this one because they are ugly here. So let's clean everyone here. Okay. Let's select those. Okay, all the remaining ribbon, and let's shuffle them to different groups like that. So it just take a couple of seconds because we have, like, as I said, 1,000 of them in the scene, so let's just wait a bit. But at least we are not doing anything, so normally you can switch to something more interesting to do, like being on Facebook or something like that, and a few seconds later you will get the result, which is coming right away. Okay, so you will see everything is loaded up. Okay, I will just, get rid of the curves, so we can hide all the curves here because I don't need them anymore. Okay, so here we have our scene, and one thing that I can do is, like, I can transfer the normal from an object. So you will see here I have, like, this, if I go here in scenes, I have this normal mesh, which is like a basic sphere, and I will transfer everything from this mesh onto a new mesh. And I'm doing this because if you're using ribbon, it will, like, basically kill everything. So if you want to update your scene later on, it would be frustrating to have accidentally delete everything. So I will just create a copy that you can later export or modify, but it won't be as interactive as the main groom. So basically it's really something that you do at the end of your work when you are happy and you want to test everything in the engine. So let's click on the bake and transfer those results here. So it will take like a few seconds also. And if we look at what we have here, so let's wait for Maya. Yes, okay, here we are. And so if you're looking here, we have like exactly the same model, but the normal are facing the angle of the ball that we had earlier. So that's the result that we are looking for. Okay, so now it's time for us to export the result, and I created a small export widget here where we can export the result, but for like testing purposes. You might need to export it with your own rig and stuff like that, so at this point it might be not fitted for this part, but you will just export the geometry out and then you can rig it later on, for example. But here we have a couple of parameters. We can clean the ribbon meshes from all their different attributes. We can copy the texture in the right folder, so we have an export folder and everything will be located inside it and renamed properly. We will merge the air cards in just one mesh. We will export the head, and also there is an option here, like I will create, let me create this one here, like, so I go to create a skeleton joint here. Okay, let's put this one up. Okay, move it like this. So why I did this is I did this option because if you want to import everything in Unreal, it's better to have a mesh with an FBX file and everything linked together with bones. I think it's a better option for you. So you can do it like this. Then you select the option here and you click on export, and it will take a couple of seconds or minutes depending on what you have in your scene. So let's wait for it. Okay, so we're done with that, and we can open the folder here. So as you can see here, we have all the textures imported right here. And if I go back here, I have my FBX, so I didn't test before, so I have an OBJ here. But if I open another Maya window here and I just grab this one here, import everything. So you might have not noticed, but you can have date FBX different version here. And so if I'm here, I have my head exported correctly. So that's it for this part, and it will wrap up our overview of Coiffure. And as I said earlier, you have more in-depth video of every part. I try to do this video in less than 30 minutes, but in fact it's like more than around 40 minutes, because there is clearly too much things to say about Coiffure, and I think it's the least I can do is to show you properly how it's working. So voilà, have a good day, bye.